Hey there, fellow Marvel enthusiasts. Today, we're diving deep into the latest Spider-Man, Brand New Day movie and exploring how Sadie Sink's mysterious character sets the stage for the MCU to finally do an iconic superhero justice on screen. Now, I know what you're thinking, another Spider-Man movie. Haven't we seen enough of those? But hear me out. This one's a game changer, and I'm here to break down why. First things first, let's talk about their hype. For months, fans were speculating about Sadie Sink's role, and the red hair theory was all the rage. But, as we all know, the truth is often stranger than fiction. Sink's character, who uses a mysterious power to jump into strangers' heads, is none other than Jean Grey, the iconic X-Men member. Now, you might be thinking, X-Men? Isn't that a bit out of place in the MCU? Well, not exactly. In the current MCU timeline, mutants exist but aren't widely publicized, and Jean Grey is just a teenage girl with enormous telepathic powers. Personally, I think this is a brilliant move. It adds a layer of complexity to the MCU, and it's a refreshing change of pace to see a superhero movie with a more grounded, relatable protagonist. But what makes this really interesting is the way it connects to the X-Men universe. Jean Grey has a rich history in the comics, and her story has been told and retold in various forms. However, the MCU has always struggled to find the perfect balance between the X-Men and the rest of the superhero world. In my opinion, this is where Brand New Day comes in. By introducing Jean Grey in a Spider-Man movie, the MCU is setting the stage for a potential X-Men movie in the future. It's a smart move, and it's one that I think will pay off big time. Now, let's talk about the implications. One thing that immediately stands out is the potential for a more ensemble-driven X-Men movie. In the past, the X-Men movies have often focused on a small core team, with characters like Wolverine and Mystique dominating the narrative. But with Sink as Jean Grey, we could see a movie that starts from an ensemble of young heroes, with Charles Xavier as a supporting character. This is a refreshing change of pace, and it's one that I think will make for a more dynamic and engaging X-Men movie. But what many people don't realize is that the MCU has already been setting the stage for this. In the past, the MCU has introduced characters like Hulk, the Punisher, and Yelena from Thunderbolts, and now Jean Grey. This is a clear indication that the MCU is expanding its universe, and it's one that I think will pay off big time. Now, let's talk about the X-Men movies themselves. The original trilogy of X-Men movies helped kick off the superhero movie boom, and they introduced us to the core team of X-Men, Jean, Cyclops, Storm, and Wolverine. But the series took a turn with X-Men, The Last Stand, which rushed through the Dark Phoenix storyline and contributed to Fox feeling at ease with making X-Men, Days of Future Past. This movie fused the original X-Men cast with the prequel characters introduced in X-Men, First Class, and it seemed to avoid Jean's death, Phoenix resurrection, redemise. However, the next time Jean Grey appeared in live-action form, she was closer to the age of Sink's version in Brand New Day. X-Men, Apocalypse introduced younger versions of Jean, Cyclops, and others, who would presumably grow up to be the versions we know from the first films. But the series took a hit with Dark Phoenix, which got even worse reviews than The Last Stand and bombed at the box office. Now, let's talk about the future. With Disney's purchase of Fox, the X-Men movies are clearly on their way out. Deadpool and Wolverine offered a kinda sorter send-off for that universe, and the upcoming Avengers, Doomsday will feature several Fox universe characters. But I think there's a glimmer of hope for the X-Men. With Marvel Studios eventually making its own X-Men movie, we could see a fresh take on the franchise. And with Sink as Jean Grey, I think we're in for a treat. So, what's my takeaway? Well, in my opinion, the best Jean Grey story in movies so far is actually in a Spider-Man movie. Dark Phoenix is a touch underrated, and it's a more door X-Men movie than the rest. But it's not as terrible as its reputation, and it features some strong acting from an overqualified cast. Sink brings a raw nerve energy that feels both true to her persona from other shows and movies, and novel to a young version of Jean who has felt ostracized by her powers. But this less formed version of Jean also makes it more backstory and prologue than full-fledged superhero. For that, best to turn to the comics, or the animated series X-Men and its current revival X-Men 97. In the meantime, let's hope that Avengers: Doomsday doesn't drown out Jean Grey's character yet again. One of Marvel's most powerful and complex women deserves better than a cool supporting part in a Spider-Man movie. So, what do you think? Is the MCU finally ready to do an iconic superhero justice on screen? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Marvel musings.